2024 has certainly been a golden year for guitar gear, and it is time for the annual Gear of the Year roundup on my channel. Every piece of gear I'm about to talk about, I have a dedicated in-depth demo video with if you'd like to learn more about it, but I've chosen to focus on 3 criteria: whether a piece of gear is particularly useful, whether it's inspiring and it makes me want to make a bunch of loud guitar noises, or whether it's a bit indulgent. Sure, maybe it's a bit expensive, maybe it's a bit rare, but it is the best at what it does, and it's just so fun to play. All of these are going to be heavily biased towards my personal taste and what I've tried. I'm not trying to put together some kind of objective list or buyer's guide. This is just a roundup of what I feel have been the coolest things that I've had the chance to play and demo on my channel this year. And we're going to get started with a bunch of effects pedals. This short roundup of pedals ranges from the ridiculous to the sublime. We're going to start with the Way Huge Stoneburner, a compact fuzz and sub octaver from the marvelous mind of George Tripps. I absolutely love pretty much everything Way Huge put out, and this one definitely inspired me to play a bunch of filthy riffs and wacky sounding lead lines. At the other end of the scale is the Past Effects Kurtz Cologne, a fantastic expansion on the classic small clone pedal. You've got 3 different eras of the small clone circuit represented, and it's stereo, and you pretty much have full control over the entire circuit. One of the most impressive lower price pedals that I tried this year was the A-Labs Cetus Stereo Reverb. This does some incredible ambient reverb sounds, and it is priced really well. We've also got the Strymon Big Sky MX, which is just straight up indulgent. The fact that you can combine things like the cloudburst algorithm and shimmer sends it way over the top. Yeah, maybe it's a little bit expensive. Maybe you don't need it if you've already got a Big Sky, but it was just so enjoyable to play through. I've also chosen to include the Black Mountain volume pedal, which is just a great utility device and a different take on the classic volume pedal design. But for me, my absolute favorite pedal that came out this year, I can't believe it finally came out, and it was the first dual delay they ever made, the Boss SDE3. That was such a fun video to put together. I'm going to give you a quick little montage of my favorite bits of the demo videos that I did for all 6 of these pedals. There's still nothing like a great tube amp, and I got to play some absolute pearlers this year. The first on the list is the Prometheus from Licklium Audio. It's one of the best high-gain amps I have ever played, and it is really rare to come across a high-gain amp that's not just a derivative of a JCM 800 or a PV5150. Daniel at Licklium Audio really did his homework and put together an amp that not only sounds fantastic, it's easy to use, and it is finished beautifully. At the other end of that spectrum, straight up Indulgence, the Fender Jack White Panoverb. Not an amp I thought I would enjoy, to be honest, but it blew me away with its beautiful spring reverb and stereo harmonic tremolo. Doing that demo really brought out a different side to my playing, and that was probably the biggest surprise of the year. But my favorite amplifier, or I guess it's technically just a preamplifier, is the Soldano X88IR. I can't believe that was made. I have lusted after the original X88 racks for so long, and seeing that with built-in power amp sims and with IR loading just made my dreams come true, and that was one of my favorite demo videos to put together this year. An honorable mention to the Friedman IRJ as well, which along similar lines takes a tube preamp and puts it with IR loading and power amp sims. That's more of a pedal, and I couldn't really find a place to put that in the list today, but that would be up there as well. Just great modded JCM 800 and plexi tones out of that. Let's hear some tones from these wonderful amps. Guitars are an interesting category on my channel because I obviously own a lot of guitars, and I buy guitars fairly regularly. I mostly buy stuff used, and I do hunt for deals. I do get the chance to demo brand new guitars, and what I find interesting about that, and why I say I'm demoing them and not reviewing them, is I get a sample size of 1, and with mass-produced instruments, that sample size of 1 is never sufficient to make any kind of value judgment about the production run. But what did impress me this year for its feature set and its price was the Fender Player 2 HSS Strat. I've been playing one of those since it came out, and for the money, if I had to recommend a pro-level guitar to anybody, that would be in the conversation immediately. The fit and finish on the one that I played straight out of the box, I still haven't changed anything on it except for the strings, really impressed me. The quality of the pickups and the hardware is fantastic for an instrument at its price point, and it says Fender on the headstock, which does not matter to some people, but I know it matters to so many people out there. And I'm going to admit it, I'm a bit of a snob. When I see Fender or Gibson or PRS on a headstock, I tend to just be biased to like it a little bit more. You all know what I'm talking about. So I think when it comes to straight up utility and hitting a price point, the Player 2 Strat that I got to play was fantastic. I also got the chance to spend some time with an Ultra 2, which I've been using for a lot of demo videos, which is super indulgent. It is just a fantastic modern Strat, and you've seen it in a bunch of my videos recently and in some of the clips that I've posted already. when it comes to the best guitar, and I can say this straight up in terms of construction, in terms of the way it plays, in terms of the materials used and the craftsmanship that goes into it, nothing can touch the Charles Chillier Bell Aurora that I bought this year. I got the chance to spend some time with Charles at his workshop in Sydney while I spent a couple of months there playing. And I like that guitar so much that I actually left Sydney and I couldn't stop thinking about it. So I ended up getting in touch with Charles and I was able to purchase the instrument. It's just a work of art, and Charles is an amazing luthier out of Australia who I think everybody should know. Let's hear a couple of quick clips with those guitars. A bunch of you are wondering when I'm going to talk about the Fractal VP4, so I'm going to talk about the Fractal VP4 right now. Yes, it is a multi-effects unit. I could have included it in my roundup of different pedals, but you all know I've been a long-time Fractal user. I've made literally hundreds of Fractal tutorial videos at this point, and I was involved in beta testing, or as I like to call it, beta testing this unit. I think it takes the best-in-class effects and makes them accessible for so many players out there. And it's a unit that is just so enjoyable to use. I think it fits into all three categories here. It is incredibly useful because it can replace an entire pedal board. It is inspiring to play because the effects are straight up so good. And it's also indulgent. Being able to run 4 multi-tap delays at the same time in a single preset is more than I can imagine I ever would have wanted. Here's a quick little clip from the demo that I did. And finally, some notable pieces of gear that were new to me or upgrades for me. I finally got around to getting my old 335 refretted. Shout out to Tim at Williams Guitars for doing an amazing stainless steel refret on that guitar. It totally brought it to life, and I play that guitar so much more. I actually took it on tour with me for a couple of months this year, and it's just an inspiring sounding instrument. I was also lucky enough to buy a 1990 Les Paul Custom. That's my favorite sounding Les Paul that I own, and they both sound absolutely killer with the Marshall 2959 that I was able to acquire. It's a 1979 Marshall that I had modified by Jason at Headfirst Amps. Jason not only brought the amp up to spec, but he performed a Jose style mod and added some extra features to that amp that make it so much more usable. Let's hear both of those guitars with that amazing sounding amp. highlights of my year in gear for 2024. I want to hear from you now. What is your favorite piece of gear that you either tried or acquired in 2024? I'm sure there's so many pieces of gear that flew under my radar that I wasn't able to try this year that I would love to try next year. Drop them in the comment section below. And if you like what I'm doing here on the channel, I'd love it if you went and checked out some of the music that I make with my band Ragdoll. Our Bandcamp store is linked in the video description. There's a playlist with all this gear in it as well if you want to watch the full demo videos. And you can support my channel directly via my Patreon, again, linked in the video description. Go and make some glorious guitar noises for the rest of the day. Take it easy, and I'll see you next time.